Hello, everyone. My name is Marcy Samuelson, and I am Marketing Manager for the Developer Initiative here at Oracle. Thank you for attending today's Tech Classroom Plan, Develop, Test, and Deploy to Oracle Cloud with GitLab. Before we get started, I would like to review a few housekeeping items. The webcast console you are looking at can be completely customized. You can resize and move any of the windows that you have open. At the bottom of your audience console, there are multiple application widgets you can use. If you have any questions during the workshop, you can enter your question in the Q&A area and submit your question. We have a number of Oracle experts on the call that are ready to help you. If you experience audio or screen issues, please make sure the audio is turned on in the media widget or press F5 to refresh your screen. This webcast will be made available on demand after the live event. You will be able to access from the same link as the link you used to access this live event. Again, thank you for joining the Tech Classroom Plan, Develop, Test, and Deploy to Oracle Cloud with GitLab. This webcast will be presented by Ken McKnight, Solutions Architect at GitLab, Vladimir Ten, Technical Account Manager at GitLab, and Gilson Malo, Principal Product Manager at Oracle. At this point, I will turn it over to Gilson.
Thanks, Marcy. Happy to be here today with my friends from GitLab, Ken and Vlad, to share some of the cool stuff that Oracle and GitLab have been doing together. This is the Oracle Safe Harbor, and I'll give you a few seconds to read it. If you're watching the recording, feel free to pause it if needed. So before we jump into GitLab's content, as usual, let me give you an overview of Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes, also known as OKE. So your first question should be, why Oracle Kubernetes? Well, OKE is a fully managed, scalable, and highly available service that you can use to deploy your containerized applications to the cloud. Oracle Kubernetes is based on the upstream version supported by the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, CNCF. So no vendor lock-in. And that also means that everything you have tested with Kubernetes on premises can be easily ported to OKE without needing to re-architect it. So use OKE when your development team wants to reliably build, deploy, and manage cloud-native applications in the cloud. Oracle's cloud-native services leverage the highly performant next-generation Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, also known as OCI. These services can be categorized into application development plus operations and observability plus messaging. As you can see on this slide, we provide several cloud-native services that, combined with OKE, will give you a robust and scalable cloud-native service environment. For example, we have streaming services, which is fully Kafka compatible, logging services compatible with Fluentd, native monitoring, notifications, events, API gateway, infrastructure as a code that allows you to run your own Terraform stack in the cloud through our Resource Manager UI, functions, other services as well. Plus, since OCI are based on open standard services, you're more than welcome to bring your own open source software that you're familiar with to use along with Oracle Cloud Native Services. Oracle is a platinum member of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation and a member of the Open Container Initiative Linux Foundation project. So we're very serious about using open standard services and supporting the Linux community in general. Oracle is the only major cloud provider to deliver and support a unified cloud native solution across managed cloud services and on-premises software, supporting seamless bidirectional portability of the cloud native applications built anywhere on a framework. As I mentioned a few seconds ago, Oracle Cloud Native Framework is based on open and conformant CNCF standards. So that means no vendor lock-in, and applications built on that framework are portable to any Kubernetes conformant environment, or any cloud, or any infrastructure. For example, applications running on WebLogic on premises can be easily containerized and then lifted and shifted into Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes without re-architecting or rewriting any code. This makes the migration to public cloud very easy. Another example, Terraform configurations can be reused across Oracle Cloud environments. They can be modified to be used in other cloud environments and also automated with Oracle Resource Manager UI, and so much more. So this slide just has some few examples of what Oracle has been doing in regards to open standard services and in regards to supporting the Linux community in general. Oracle's second generation cloud infrastructure, known as OCI, provides bare metal, virtual machines, containerized compute, GPUs for performance-intensive workloads such as AI and machine learning, and a variety of cloud storage options like block, storage, and archive. OCI offers a fantastic array of services for developers to build modern applications, and OKE uses OCI as the main platform for its services. Regarding to the frameworking and programming language options, we don't restrict the users to one or two programming language options only. So you have the choice to use any programming language and framework like Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, and you can also use any DevOps tools as well. In addition to that, we provide a set of free tools like Developer Cloud Service for your DevOps framework, but you can also use the ones you're already familiar with, like GitLab, for example. This is the enterprise cloud you have heard of, providing an integrated data platform for the enterprise. This includes our flagship autonomous database, but we also offer the choice of other databases like MySQL and Microsoft SQL Server. Finally, several serves to help you manage, security, and monitor your applications like Oracle Management Cloud and others. Let's talk a little bit more about Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes, OKE, and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Registry, OCR. OKE is a developer-friendly and enterprise-ready managed service that runs highly available Kubernetes clusters with the control, security, and performance of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, while keeping pace and compatibility with the CNCF ecosystem. For example, OKE supports Kubernetes Helm for easy deployment of Kubernetes apps and several other features like bare metal support for the worker nodes, along with virtual machine and HPC shapes. OCR is a highly available container registry service that enables users to easily store and share their container images. OCR allows users to push and pull images with the Docker command line, or pull images directly into their Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes deployments, for example. OCR is a Docker v2 compliant and can work with OKE or other container engines as well. So interoperability is assured with both OKE and OCR products. So let's recap what we have shared so far. We have covered some of the Oracle open source initiatives and DevOps solutions, along with a quick intro of OKE and OCR. Now, let's talk about pricing options. The shaded area on the left designates the functions that Oracle manages for the users, including an integrated registry, image store, and a fully managed container engine for Kubernetes. Oracle will manage the etcd and master nodes of the Kubernetes instance in a high availability setup for the customer. Upgrades to new versions of Kubernetes will also be supported in the container engine dashboard within the OCI console. So it's very easy to upgrade your OKE masters along with your node pool nodes, and you decide when to do it to mitigate downtime situations, for example. Users will manage the cluster or worker nodes that are set up by the managed service for that instance, for example, in their own OCI account and on tenants. That's the shade in blue above on the right. Users do not pay for any of the Oracle managed container infrastructure, the gray area on the left. This is the control plane that enables you to configure those services, maintain operations, versions, availability, and etc. Users pay only regular fees for the compute, storage, and networking using the data plane, the blue area on the right, where the applications will run and the data will be stored. By the way, did you know that some cloud providers charge you for the master nodes and services? I'm talking about the free service that you see here on the left side. So OKE and OCR not only provide a reliable and robust environment, but also a very cost-effective platform for you and your users. Okay, I have a couple more slides left, so let's use them well and talk about some unique capabilities we have available for you, like how about using OKE with other Oracle services, for example? Well, Oracle provides a service broker to make it easy for you to get your microservices talking to other Oracle Cloud Native services. Oracle Service Broker is an implementation of Open Service Broker API that you can use in a Kubernetes cluster to provision and bind to OCI services that your application depends on. It includes integrations with the key services like Autonomous Transaction Processing Database, or ATP, or our Autonomous Data Warehouse, streaming services, object storage services, with additional integrations on the way. The main key benefit of Service Broker is reducing complexity in the app deployment. So it's very easy to get your OKE microservices talking to other Oracle services as well. What about persistency? How to make sure the data is persistent with OKE? As you might know, applications can be categorized as either stateless or stateful. Containers are well suited for stateless apps, but require the use of external data stores for stateful apps. For example, let's talk about stateless app. They do not require persistence. They are easily redeployable and easily scalable. They can be easily containerized. And as an example of stateless app, we could point to a website that serves the same static web page to all clients. What about stateful apps? Well, stateful apps require persistence. They're more useful for complex use cases. And as an example of a stateful app, could be an e-commerce website that keeps track of your cart as you shop, so it basically keeps track of your state. OKE provides servicing capability for both stateless and stateful apps. And as you can see on this slide, you also have the capability of integrating your apps with Oracle's flagship autonomous database and storage services like block and file storage service, for example. Finally, here are some highlights of new features we have announced that I'd like to share with you. First one is Cloud Shell. Cloud Shell is a web browser terminal accessible from the OCI console with several useful tools and utilities pre-installed like Git, Java, Python, kubectl, Helm, Maven, Terraform, Ansible, SQL+, and a lot. Cloud Shell is also integrated with OKE and functions. So that means you can manage your OKE cluster and function directly through the UI. We have also released some OKE metric options that are now available directly from the UI, with additional options coming soon. Last but not least, pod security policies. These policies control the operations that pods can perform on a cluster you have created with OKE by setting up some pod security policies for the cluster. So for example, you can use pod security policies to limit the storage choice available to pods, restrict the host networking and ports that pods can use, prevent pods from running as the root user, and a lot more. Excellent. Now that you know more about Oracle Native Service in general, let's dive into GitLab slides and live demo to understand better how you can use GitLab CI pipeline with OKE. Now I'll turn it over to Vladimir Ten. Thank you.
Thanks, Gilson. And hello, everyone. We're from GitLab, and our mission is that everyone can contribute. And today, we'd like to share with you a few things. Well, welcome. We're Ken and Vladimir. As Gilson had mentioned, Ken, you want to say hi?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
And Ken is our solutions architect, and I'm a technical account manager, which means I help the teams that use GitLab to get the best out of their investment in GitLab Enterprise. So we're hoping that today you'll be able to get the following outcomes for your project or your teams to see that with GitLab and Oracle, you can achieve the workflow portability and deploy to Oracle. GitLab allows you to be platform agnostic and also lower the barrier of entry to Kubernetes integration that GitLab has. So you can connect your Oracle Kubernetes directly to GitLab via a nice graphical user interface. And there's also no switching context. Working with GitLab, you can work across teams, and you don't have to switch to another application when you're done picking your issue, and then yet to another application when you want to build, test, and deploy your application. So GitLab provides you one application, one context for all your DevOps lifecycle work. Today's objectives is that we'll plan, develop, and deploy your software entirely in GitLab. Also, you'll see that you can save time and improve the quality of your dev life by using a single awesome app. And we'll, of course, will end with leveraging Oracle Cloud's compute power with Kubernetes. Here is the GitLab flow. Generally, if you have a project, you want to split it down to smaller parts called issues. You create an issue or a ticket. You create a merge request for it. Then you commit your changes. Once you do so, CI pipeline runs automatically. Then GitLab will spin up a review app for you. That would be a live environment for your application that the stakeholders can check out, interact with it, and see if it's any good. Once the peer review and discussion starts, you can hash out the details, make sure that it's not only working, but it's awesome. You approve the changes. Well, granted, the team who is granted these abilities to approve the changes will check off, then merge the issues, and the CD pipeline runs. And then off you go to deploying to the deployment environment of your choice. In our case, it will be Oracle Cloud. Then you can monitor the application performance, and that would be a complete life cycle of your software project. And by the time you're done, your colleagues will think that you are this. And your customers will think you're this. But even Iron Man had to get started somewhere, so let's get started. This is our plan for today. We'll create a Node.js project on gitlab.com. Then we'll create a Kubernetes cluster in Oracle Cloud. We'll plan and develop in GitLab. Then we'll deploy to Oracle and see it live. Demo time. All right, so once you have a gitlab.com account, you click on the new project, and this interface prompts you to type in the project name. In this case, we'll say my cool project. Very creative. Well, this is the URL for your project. And yeah, we're cool with that. We'll leave it as private. Let's initialize. Well, actually, we'll use a template, even better. And what's nice is GitLab allows you to have a big choice of different templates. And in this case, we're interested in a Node application. We'll select Node.js Express, use this template, name it my cool project. Same thing. And click Create. With one click of a button, we have the full Node.js project with Express, which is great. Now, for the sake of time, there is an already created project that we'll use so that you can jump in and we'll get started. So once, say you have your team wants to work on a new innovative campaign, and you have to have a site dedicated, an application dedicated for it. And now that we have a Node.js project, how do we plan for it? Well, let's say our project has an overarching theme. And in just an example for this, let's click on epics. This overarching theme is architecture modernization. That's what we're going to work on. And we have a bunch of issues or tickets associated with that theme. But also we have a sub-theme called evaluate vendors. That is an epic in GitLab. And epics bundle the issues together as they're related to each other, but also you can have sub-epics that belong to the bigger epic. In this dashboard, you're able to see the structure of what we have. And in this case, we realize, okay, that looks good, but we need to change the order. It would make sense to come up with required capabilities before we evaluate vendors. But then to assess our current infrastructure after we come up with required capabilities. Let's click into this issue. And we can see that the current infrastructure assessment really depends on this issue. And required capabilities will depend on our current infrastructure assessment. But also, we can relate to other issues and specify that that this is a blocker for something else, like this. It relates to or blocks another issue or is blocked by another issue. In this workflow, we're able to specify and flag issues, relationships. That way we have a greater project visibility and bottlenecks for planning and execution. These are the issue boards, the familiar Kanban boards for project management. And without switching to another application, we can go ahead and get started with the development phase and also deploy. But that we'll touch on later. Let's switch to Ken, and Ken will show you how easy it is to create a Kubernetes cluster in Oracle Cloud and then integrate it right from GitLab. Go ahead, Ken.
Thanks, Vlad. Go ahead and share my screen. All right, thanks, Vlad. Appreciate that. So as Vlad was showing you, it is super easy to get started with a project by using a template. So the next thing we want to do is we want to give ourselves a deployment environment. And you can clearly use GitLab to create your own runners in your own environment to do that. But if you want to go fast and you want to have a really efficient setup that's quick and easy and fast for your developers to onboard, one of the simplest ways is to use our auto DevOps. And that, in fact, uses Kubernetes. So we are going to go over to our Oracle Cloud dashboard here, and we are going to leverage the power of OKE. So we're going to go down to our developer services area and our cluster, and we're going to go ahead and create a new one. So this is super easy. This interface is great. So if you're an advanced Kubernetes expert, then you can clearly use the custom create here, which gives you all the control you want. I'm going to go with the easy one because we want to get up and running quickly. So we're going to use the quick create, which gives us all this lovely stuff in Kubernetes sort of out of the box without having any worries about having to be a Kubernetes expert. So then once we click on that, we get to name our cluster. This will be our cluster. And then there are a few settings here as far as the Kubernetes version and so on, but not a whole lot to do here. Then we click Next, and we say Create Cluster. Now this is going to take a few minutes, so I've taken the liberty of creating one already. So here it is. This is our demo app cluster. It's all set, ready to go. It's been staged. It's running. You can see here we've got a little bit of metrics going. And once we've got that, then we drop back into GitLab, into our project. And we simply go down to our operations section in Kubernetes. And then we say, add a new cluster. Now, since we're adding an existing cluster because we made it already over in Oracle Cloud, I'm going to select the add existing cluster. And you can see here we ask for a name, and we can call it our cluster. We give it a scope, which sort of describes which parts of your pipeline we can go into, like staging and production and performance and so on. And then we have several values here we have to fill in, which are all documented very nicely here in our documentation center. So if you're familiar with Kubernetes and you just need to execute these different kube control commands, there are a few of them. And once you do that, magic presto, here's an example from our existing project that has everything filled out. You can see here the GitLab integration is turned on. We have a base domain for doing all our work, and here's sort of the rest of the stuff that you would expect, having an API URL and a certificate, and of course a protected service token. And then it will go ahead and it will manage that cluster for you. It will add all the proper apps that we need to be able to support Auto DevOps and get your system running up as fast as possible. Alrighty, so that was a quick intro to adding an OKE cluster to GitLab so we can get started. I'm going to pass the baton back to Vlad, who's now going to, he's already planned some work, so now he's going to go ahead and as a developer, and he's going to actually get some work done, and then we're going to watch it go through the flow. So I'm going to stop my screen share. I'm going to pass it back to you, Vlad.
Thanks, Ken. All right, back to the project. Say we've split our work timeline into milestones or sprints. And, well, we have a creative name of sprint for a sprint. And the milestones can have a start date and a due date in which we're tracking all the issues associated with this milestone. And if you have a production environment, it will look closer to this. In this example, you're seeing that this is the guideline of our issues, and we're burning through them over time, and looks like we're on our way to success. So the burn down charts will organize the issues progress in our sprint. Now, let's create an issue for our work. Back to our boards. And in to do, we'll create an issue that'll say, update the title. Okay, once the issue is created, I'll assign it to myself. Now, we'll add this issue to an epic. Well, in this case, it's going to be architecture modernization. It doesn't make sense for this example. Here it is, but just for demo purposes. Then milestone will add sprint. And for the due date, we'll say, oh, it's due tomorrow. Here, we can specify labels that the issue is pertaining to, assign weight. That is a number that your team planning agrees upon. It can be any number, but for our purposes, we'll say 3. It really signifies the priority and the importance of the item. Sometimes you can associate that number with either the complexity of work, the time it's going to take, or the effort. Then we'll drag this issue into doing and go ahead and get started. From this issue, we'll create a merge request. Update the title, source branch. Yeah, let's say master. Of course, if in your production environment, you can have a development branch. Let's create merge request and branch. In your normal development environment, you'd probably want to use your IDE of choice, but for this demo, we'll use the online IDE that comes with GitLab. So we'll go ahead and open in Web IDE. And in order to update the title, we'll have to go to the routes and update the controller for the home page. Here it is. And change it to hello, all you awesome people. Now, once we've updated the controller, let's update the test so that it accepts what view will render from the controller. Hello, you awesome people. All right. That looks good. We commit the changes.
And Vlad, take a look at those too. Do you notice something different between the left and the right side, between your test and your string?
That is a good question, Ken.
I do notice something different, which is awesome.
Yes, it renders the differences between the files. You can have the visual of what has been changed, review your changes, and make sure that everything is as expected. All right.
And Vlad, just to make sure, did you notice that your test says, hello, you awesome people? Go back to your index file. What does it say over there? Hello, all you awesome people.
Ah, the test would have failed.
That's exactly right.
Well, all you awesome people. Let's go back and discard the draft. Go to the edit mode. And now that should work. Making sure that it is exactly as we've input. We'll say updated the title. And we'll commit to this existing branch. All right, our work is done. And now it's time for the tech lead to review the code and do the rest of the magic.
All righty. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I have two hats. I created the Kubernetes cluster a little earlier, but now I'm also the tech lead. So what I'm going to do is run through what it looks like to do an approval now that Vlad's done the actual work. And in fact, I realized while I made the comment earlier about the changes, I could just as easily and probably even more appropriately gone down in this merge request as the approver to look at Vlad's work here. And you can see, I can understand that he changed hello everyone to all you awesome people. And I would have seen down here that he was missing the word all in the test. So as an approver, I could have actually gone back and noted this, although the pipeline would have failed anyway, and we didn't want that for our test. So I jumped in on that. So if you look at the merge request, it's essentially our single view and our collaborative view into getting work done within GitLab and leveraging Oracle's cloud for doing Kubernetes type work here. And the reason we do that is because it then allows you to collaborate across the world with teams in making sure that your updates are properly vetted before they ever make it back to master, because clearly we don't want to break master. Let's go through the UI a little bit here and review what we're seeing. So as I showed you, we can look at changes. What we're looking at here is the merge request and the fact that it closes a particular issue that Vlad had opened. So once this merge request is completed and it's put back into our master environment, it will go ahead and close the issue, which is really nice. No need to remember that. You can see that right now it's actually running a pipeline. And when it's gotten far enough, it will go ahead and create what we call a review app. That is a version of your software running in a container so that you can view it graphically. And as the approver, I can really understand whether it's working as I expect. Going a little further here, you can see that there's an approval section. I happen to be the approver. So you can see Ken as the tech lead is the approver, and there's only me that's required to be able to do this. Of course, you can have multiple approvers and approval groups. So you could bring in QA, you can bring in your performance team, you can bring in your UX team, your security team, any of these teams to ensure that a proper process is followed and that everything that you need to do is properly done. So let's drop into the pipeline briefly just to see what that looks like. So this pipeline is automatically kicked off by the commit, in this case, Vlad's check-in of the couple files for changing the title, as well as the test suite. And as I mentioned before, when I was creating the Kubernetes cluster, we're going to leverage our auto DevOps feature. This essentially brings in a best practice pipeline, so your team doesn't have to. It auto detects the kind of technology you're using. And in this case, we're using Node.js with Express, and it produces a really nice pipeline. You can clearly change this as you need, but the point is that if you want to onboard teams fast and get them up and running and get them producing output that provides your company return on investment, with the new features they're coming out with, this is the fastest way to do it. And you can see it basically goes through a build, a test cycle. It's going to create our review app. And since we're in Kubernetes, and because we've created an application that's running, we can actually do some dynamic application security testing. That's the DAST piece before we run it through performance and then clean things up. So we've got a really nice complete solution that ensures that when I'm ready to approve it, I can say, yes, it's been run through a pipeline on a feature branch that doesn't affect master, and it's gone through all these different tests. So not only does it run a static code analysis, but it's going to go ahead and it's going to run container scanning to make sure your container hasn't got any security issues. It's going to look at dependencies. It's going to look at license management, making sure your developers aren't trying to leverage third-party code that uses a license that's not viable for your company. It's going to run static security analysis, as well as your own set of tests. Now you can see here that this is going to take a while. So what I've done is I've queued up an existing merge request that's already done. You can see all the checkboxes here are properly done. And my approval button is active and ready to go. So now before I do that, I want to make sure that all the tests ran properly. So I'm going to look down here in the testing section. You can see there weren't any changes to code quality. So what we do is we're a little smarter than just reporting all the code quality, static analysis values, and the security scanning. What we do is we only provide to you the difference between the baseline, which is in master, and what's on this branch, which is fabulous because then you get a much smaller subset of vulnerabilities or code changes in terms of quality. But you can obviously, you can expand it here, which is nice because then you can look at all the different types of scans we ran. This is really great because you can see here that I haven't got any major ones, but I can, from a single source, I can look at the complete full list. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to pop out here just for a moment as the approver, and I'm going to go look at some of my security scans. What's great about this is then they're all in one place. I can sort them by severity. I can filter by which ones I want to see. I only want to see critical ones, for instance. That helps me drill into exactly what I want. And then I can look at the report types to see what kind of scanning is key. The other thing about this is that from one interface, super easy for me to decide what I want to do with this. So I can look at the description. I can look at which file it affects. I can see what the CDE is for this, and I can make an intelligent decision based on this. You know, I can decide to dismiss it. I can add a comment. I can also go ahead and flag it with a new issue. If I say, yeah, this is a problem, you need to go fix this. So you can create a new issue and have it done. So that's basically shifting security left, which means that fewer security issues slip through the cracks and that they're immediately covered by the development team rather than having a huge number of security issues running into your security team where they are overwhelmed. And so this really helps with that. Let's drop back into our update here. You can also see for the different scans, I was going to show you here licensing. If you want to look at licensing, you can see here we have a couple in terms of we don't have any policies for these, so we have to decide whether we're okay with BSD or the MIT license. If we had some code quality stuff, it would show up there as well. Okay, so we've taken a look at our security scanning. We've looked at our license compliance. We don't see any code quality problems. As I said before, you can quickly look at what was actually going on here. You can make comments. So if you don't like something, I could come in here and make a comment like, you know, company policy is not to use exclamation points, but it's okay this time. And we can add a comment here. So if this ever becomes an issue or you want to check back on this later, guess what? It's all here for you to look at as historical information. Clearly, if I had found something egregious, I could have gone in and said, no, Vlad, that's not right. You need to change this. What we were supposed to say was something different. And then when I'm all done, I can go back to my overview and I can approve it. So I can simply say, yeah, you know what? This thing is ready to go. And once it's ready to go, we can go ahead and merge it. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the source branch because I don't need it anymore. And guess what it's going to do? It's going to run a pipeline in master to make sure that everything is correct on the master branch. And to ensure that it's always green. We could, if we needed to, revert this, and we can also cherry pick if we need to. So let's take a quick peek now that it's running in master. What you will notice is it doesn't look quite the same. Some of it looks similar, but not all of it. Actually, let's move on to the next screen. So actually this one looks exactly the same because it's still merging this. All right, let's go to one where we've actually run it. So this is a continuation where I've actually run the pipeline in master and it's completed. First of all, what you'll see here, this is a better pipeline example. So the pipeline does look a little different. There we go. So this pipeline is actually from the same exact definition, but because it's on master, instead of it being a simplified version that's run on a feature branch to run as quickly as possible and provide both the developer and then the review person, the approver, a quick feedback loop. This one is slightly more extended. So you'll see here the build and test piece looks really familiar, right? The review piece, kind of similar, except it's going ahead and it's not waiting for review. It's just going to go ahead and run. And then we have staging and production. In this case, you can see we have the ability to do rollouts. We can do 10, 20, 50, 100% rollout, and then it runs performance. So what this is doing for us is it's giving us a even more fully fleshed out pipeline automatically, because it's running auto DevOps, and it's ensuring that our pipeline or our product is fully vetted and of the highest quality before it makes it into production. And if something goes wrong or production folks aren't ready to actually deploy it, they don't have to do this rollout. In fact, you could see here, maybe I did 10% and I had a problem originally, and then I went and fixed it, and then I went ahead and once I liked what I saw, I went ahead and rolled it out to 100% of those. So that really ensures that the quality and the coordination between the teams is there to ensure that everything goes exactly as planned. Alrighty, so let's go back here. I'll point out a couple of more things, and then we'll be done. So if you notice the pipeline running here, we also give some simple metrics on the different stages because I hadn't quite deployed entirely to production yet. I don't get that, but you'll notice here that we have a nice simple graph of what's going on in, let's say, the staging, and at that point where it was running the dynamic testing, we can sort of see what the memory usage was. And that's pretty good. But what if we want to sort of see a more detailed view of what's going on in our production environment? Well, we can go down to our operations environment section, and we can see exactly what's going on. So in this case, you can see here that I was doing a rollout. I hadn't quite gotten the whole way yet, but I had some of it running. And if I'd had any failures, the key down here will tell me what's going on. I can even click here to open a live environment and see what the value is. You can see that since I hadn't quite made it all the way to production yet, our message looks a little different than what Vlad had, and that's because we haven't made it all the way to production. Now, the other thing we can do is we can look at the review. Let's take a look here. This was done 6 minutes ago. So we can also check out what was happening on Vlad's merge request as well. And you can see that we have "hello all you awesome people," which is exactly what I remember him typing. So from a review section as well, we can tell the difference between where we were before we merged it and where we are now in production as it goes along. We can also take a look at metrics. So if I look at monitoring in production, give it a second here to refresh. There we are. So what we're doing now is we're showing metrics from the OKE cluster, which is fabulous. Now, clearly, if you want to debug and you want really deep metrics, the best place to go is back to your container here, because this has even deeper metrics, which is awesome. So the Oracle dashboard, the Oracle Cloud dashboard, is really great for debugging low-level metrics type problems. But if what you want to do as an end user is just kind of get a general feel for how things are going, it's really key that from that standpoint, rather than having to have the admin access to the actual cluster, which you probably want to leave to your IT folks, what you're able to do from within the GitLab UI is simply look at some of the key metrics that are going on here. So you can see some of the different ones that you might expect here: total usage of memory and core usage, and maybe for the pod you've got. If you had any canary deployments, you would be able to see those as well. And if we scroll down here towards the bottom here, we can look at some of our ingress metrics. You can see here, this is when I was hitting it up this morning. There's sort of our metric for that. So, one of the things that we feel is really important is the ability to give some power to our development teams and to our production teams for quick overview of how things are going without requiring them to go all the way back to the dashboard. Okay, well, at this point, I think we've basically taken a look at what it takes to set up a new project in GitLab. And what we've demonstrated is this idea of workflow portability, because we've combined GitLab's ability to bring up a new project quickly and easily with a template, as you saw Vlad do, and our ability to get started faster by being able to leverage the likes of a Kubernetes cluster done in Oracle, which is fabulous, and increase our productivity. How did we do that? Well, we had one single interface. We had one single application that allowed all of our teams to collaborate together to create this new feature in our Node.js Express, make a quick change, get it approved, make sure it's correct through valid testing, both of the app and the security, and then ultimately get it out to production and make sure that it doesn't break master. And that's it for our demonstration for today. Thank you very much for coming. We can follow up here with any questions you have. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
So let's go into the Q&A here. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I don't know, Ken and Vlad, do you want to take some of the questions that we haven't answered yet?
Yeah, sure, I'll take one. So this is Ken. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. The question is, can we do automated tests with a framework like Gauge running a Maven project in a container? The short answer is absolutely. Anything you can run from a command line, you can run, and clearly running Maven and Gauge is fully supported. So yeah, great question. Let's see. Another question. Oh, go ahead.
On top of Ken's reply about the integrations, yes, you can also use SonarQube for static analysis with GitLab. There is also an integration that is really nice that exists.
Excellent. Let's see. Let's read another one here. Sort of similar. Can we use SonarQube for static analysis? Yes, absolutely. So we have clearly open source static code analysis with Code Climate, but you can absolutely add SonarQube as well to either augment it or replace it entirely. So that's also fully supported.
In a similar fashion, there is an integration with Jira. So you can use, if you are really liking your Jira, you can use Jira with GitLab. But GitLab has really nice planning as well, so it's up to you.
So let me take the one here. There's a question about, is OKE and GitLab tightly integrated compared to, say, AWS and Azure, and is this integration available out of the box, or do you need to do customization? Long-winded way of saying, hey, yeah, is there a nice push button? Unfortunately, today there is not, as opposed to a couple of the other cloud providers, but we are a big fan of collaboration and community input, and there is an issue open on that. So if you want to go out there and upvote that one to get a nice one-touch button, I would say go for it. Otherwise, the instructions are very clear, and they're pretty simple to implement with kube control. So it's so you've got the way to do it.
There's also a question about. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say this is Gilson from the OKE PM team. So, yes, I mean, we have a very close relationship with the GitLab team, and we're definitely going to do some very cool, additional cool stuff in the future. So stay tuned for that.
Also, there's a question about the pricing for use. Absolutely. About the pricing of GitLab and OCI. So with GitLab, you really well, you can use it for free, but also if you like certain features in specific tiers, which are aimed at compliance, merge requests, controls, and compliance license, continuous scaling, those types of things, there are tiers appropriate for that, so you can purchase license seats for them. So you pay for GitLab separately, and Oracle Cloud is really competitive in pricing and performance. So it's up to you of how you'd like to configure that, but it's separate pricing.
I'll take one more here. We've got a few more minutes. There's a question about can you integrate OCI command line interface in the pipelines? And the short answer is yes. Anything you can script, you can automate within a GitLab pipeline.
And in that spirit, can you please elaborate on how to add configure target environment? So that can be done with your CI pipeline. At the script level, you can define and automate your script of how you'd like to configure and provision things. You can use, the tool of your choice, whether Rancher or Terraform. And also you can tweak on your Kubernetes cluster level as well. So I hope that answers your question. If not, you can write a follow-up there.
Thanks, Vlad. That's awesome. There's a question here. In the demo, I saw you creating a cluster, but I didn't see you demoing anything related to the container. Does GitLab handle packing the app in a container? Yeah. So in this particular this particular demo, we didn't create a container per se, but it's absolutely possible to first create a container image from that, and then deploy it out. So both of those are absolutely possible. This particular demo just didn't happen to create a container first before deploying it.
And yes, you can integrate with Terraform and Ansible.
Let's see, what else do we have here?
So there's another one here for the UI. The GitLab dashboard can be integrated with the OCI dashboard. Well, as of today, as you saw, there are two different dashboards. You can automate the process maybe through the command line, but not having a single dashboard for both of them. But as you saw, after you include the OKE node into the GitLab pipeline UI, you will basically drive all the new tasks through the GitLab dashboard, and you will be back to the OCI console to manage your OKE cluster whenever needed. Hope that answers your question. If I have not, please let me know.
Yeah, there's a
question about. Go ahead, please.
Go for it. Okay, I'll go do one and then let you have one, Vlad. So there's a question about your URLs. Someone noticed that I had used nip.io for my domain, and they'd asked about this need. Does this need a DNS entry change? So for review apps specifically, we do dynamic DNS names. So what we're doing essentially is providing a wildcarded name so that we can have a review app that you can directly go to live running in a container. So you need a base domain. I just happen not to go out and get me my own custom domain. I just happen to use nip.io to make it a little easier on the demo. But yeah, only for review apps do you need that if you're using Auto DevOps. Otherwise, you don't need it for your own deployments. Go ahead, Vlad. We got, I think, 1 minute left, right, Marcy, and then we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, let's take one more question, and then
all
we'll
right.
wrap it up.
If we have an on-premise server, can we deploy to those environments? On those environments, if that environment are not connected by internet, can we create a VPN or use an agent to do that? I'm not familiar with that particular setup, but say you have an on-premise GitLab, then you can utilize Runner, establish a connection between your server and the Runner by registering it, and then you can tell the Runner to go out and deploy to a hybrid environment, say some on-premise, some in cloud, or whatever you choose. So yes, generally.
Great. So I wanted to thank Gilson, Ken, and Vlad for this useful presentation and demo, and to all of you who attended our webcast today. This live webcast has been recorded and will be available using the same link you used to access the webcast originally for this live event. If you have questions about what was presented today, feel free to email the presenters directly. Their email is on your console. And when this webcast ends, you'll be presented with a survey. So please tell us what you think so that we can make these webcasts more useful. So thank you again.
Everyone.
And yep, we hope you have a great day. Anything else anybody wants to add?
Nope. Thank you all.
Nope. Have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you.